Alright everyone, at certain points in your life you have to know when to call something quits, when something's just not working, especially within a professional capacity. You can keep plugging away at it, and sometimes through great fortitude and extremely long breath, a lot of patience, sometimes somebody will have a breakthrough like, oh yeah, I worked on this invention for 30 years and then I finally got it right, now I'm famous. But it's not common. And if there's no reasonable expectation that that's even possible, like in Kamala Harris's sense, you should know when to let things go. Kamala Harris doesn't know how to do this. Like, think about it, over a year ago I was making a Vermont issues series. It got considerably less traffic than most of my videos did. Now, of course, it helped popularize my material even more in my home state, which is probably why I get recognized more often, but by and large, is Vermont on an international scale particularly politically important? No. And a lot of it got boring because there wasn't a lot of news to do, and I'm like, well, I could renew this for another 100 episodes and punish myself for the next 100 days, or I could just say, you know what, I'd rather do something else. I'd rather talk more often about the occult, or my literature, or something that's more, it concerns larger groups of people. Kamala Harris lacks this capability. In the polls, she's now in 5th place. She was riding in 4th. Arguably, for a few weeks in the race after the first debate, she was almost in 2nd place. She was in a close 3rd. She slid since then. She's never gone back up. She's now below 4%. 5% is arguably the viability cutoff. Once you've slipped back below that after being above it for any length of time, as Kamala has, you are no longer viable. Her campaign is already fundamentally done. Now, she loses one of her top staffers in California, of all places, her home state of all states. Loses to the Bloomberg campaign. Bloomberg makes them deputy chief director. So she just lost one of her most potent staffers within her home state, which is a highly competitive Super Tuesday state that if Kamala doesn't come in the top 3 in her home state, she's fucking done. I don't even know why she's in at this point. How is she even affording to remain in? Certainly there can't be that many gullible morons still funding her campaign. She's in danger of slipping to 6th behind none other than Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang could move into the top 5, into the top quarter of the field, simply because there's nobody left who's particularly capable of maintaining 3% support. Kamala's at 3.8 right now. Haven't checked the polls today, but as of yesterday, it's like, why are you still in? Kamala Harris is getting down near Tulsi Gabbard levels. It will be infinitely funny to me if she drops out and Gabbard is still in. I think that would be a good thing for the country because it would show that sometimes spouting more Russia doesn't pay. I don't think it'll pay in the general either, to be entirely truthful. What I would say here is Kamala Harris was never particularly viable in the first place. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's going to be Kamala Harris, you watch, it'll be her. I discounted that to begin with for a very good reason. Kamala Harris is not a strong candidate, and she's running against people whose relative strength to crippling incapacitation ratio is simply better than hers. She's a triple minority with a shitty prosecutorial record, lies constantly, and she's anti-charismatic. That's really all you need to know about Kamala Harris. She doesn't really have anything to set her apart, other than the fact that she's a supposedly minority female. That's basically it. She has no specific skill set that should take her to the nomination, let alone winning a general election. Look at the other candidates. Biden, he's got the name recognition, he's been VP. That sort of seals the deal for him. He's viable. Buttigieg, he's young, he's fairly charismatic. You can say what you want about his policy proposals, but he's sort of hip with the lingo. Sort of a youngish Gen Xer, older millennial sort of politician, so he's got it. Elizabeth Warren has managed to con a lot of people into thinking she's a progressive while hiding the fact that she's using mainly corporate money from her 2016 Senate run. She's got it. And then Bernie Sanders, he's a perennial candidate at this point. The one odd person out is Kamala Harris. By the way, it'd be very funny if Andrew Yang ends up number 5 simply because Kamala Harris is systemically collapsing. Put a fork in her, she's done. At this point, anyone donating money to her is just giving her money for a future bid in Congress or a gubernatorial run or whatever she does next. I don't think she'll leave politics. I just think that she's not ready for that level of politics. And I don't think she ever will be. That ship is sailing. She's approaching 60, so, she hasn't really had any important positions in her life. Kamala Harris is a doofy person And like I've said, it's sort of like Elizabeth Warren. When challenged, when antagonized, she does poorly. This has been a thing with both of these particular candidates. It's like Sanders has had this problem in the past. He's sort of gotten past it. Elizabeth Warren freezes up when antagonized. Kamala Harris gets self-righteous and uppity when antagonized. Neither of these are a good thing. It's good to defend yourself, unlike what Warren is capable of mounting as a response, but it's not good to go off the cliff and go crazy and say weird shit like Kamala Harris does. You remember when she was questioned with regards to Joe Biden and the fact that Hunter Biden was on a foreign energy company's board while he was VP, and she was asked about this question. She and Elizabeth Warren were the biggest losers that day when asked about this. Because Elizabeth Warren is like, well, I'll have to look more into it. Like, basically, I'm not even going to answer the question. And Kamala Harris is like, well, no, it's probably not good. Oh, but I'd have to look more into it. Oh, I'll have to ask a staffer, basically. I'd delegate authority to someone else to look into this important matter for me. And this is the sort of person I read Kamala Harris as being very bureaucratic, very corporate, very cold, very, bland, business-like. That's not exactly what you need for the presidency. You need a little bit more charisma and dynamism within that particular office. She's fine for the Senate. She's fine for the House of Representatives. I guess she would be okay as a federal judge, maybe, with always very solemn and very delegated and by the rules. But when you're in an office that involves diplomacy, it's a little bit less so than that. It's more Shakespearean. This is what a lot of people don't even seem to understand about the U.S. presidency. A lot of it is literally smoke and mirrors, and that's by design. It's not a bad thing, by the way. So her campaign is over. Kamala Harris will be out soon, probably before Super Tuesday if the polls keep looking down for her in California. Good. People of California, if you get polled, don't say that you'd vote for Kamala Harris, even if you will. Punish her. Get her out of the race. She's an embarrassment. That's about all. Peace out.